What's going on, guys, and welcome to my top 10 Spider-Man games through 2000 to 2016 or 2017. It's going to be in that range. I'm doing this because, the movie came out on Friday, and I never did this before, so I figured that I would do this now, and give you my top 10 list of Spider-Man games, because I felt like WatchMojo didn't do it right. So that someone's got to do it justice, and that someone, I guess, being me. Alright, so like I said, my opinion's different from your opinion. You have a different top 10 list. I'd like to see it in the comments down below. And anyway, let's get into this. So, number 10 is these two kind of tied up. I'll even show you an honorable mention after I show these two. And these two, they tied for 10th place because they were essentially like the same game with gameplay-wise, just different story and stuff like that. And a few different upgrades. Other than that, it was pretty much, it played the same. And that would be the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Now, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, let's talk about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 first. It's a movie tie-in. Of course. The gameplay is pretty similar to the first one, but there is a few differences. In the second game, he does, like, if you've played the first one, you know what I'm talking about, when he's web slinging or he's shooting his webs, what he'll occasionally do, a little fun, little neat thing they added was he'll like reload his cartridges, like, and it doesn't really he doesn't actually reload them, but he just has that animation. And that was a big step for me, because I was like, yeah, that's cool. They're actually showing him reload his web shooters while he's fighting, while he's web slinging, while he's being active with them. So that was one of the cool little things I liked a little bit more about the first game than the second game. Now the second game's combat is a little bit faster than the first one, and I do like the combat in the second one a little bit better because it was not as slow. But I think that, the Amazing Spider-Man does ultimately win because I felt like there was more care put into this one, whereas the second one was more copy and paste. You know what I mean? So and like some of the villains, like the Rhino, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't super big. Like I said, movie tie-in, so of course the main villain is the Lizard. What is pretty cool about this one is it does take place after the very first movie of The Amazing Spider-Man, so I thought that was pretty cool. I felt like that, I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like the second one, but, then we got this one, so. Anyway, the honorable mention I would have put in my number 10, but it didn't make the cut, because this was hard for me to do. It's hard for me to actually find and put these together, because I got a lot of games, and there are a lot of games. And the honorable mention is Spider-Man Friend or Foe. I got 2 copies. I got the PS2 and I got the Xbox. Now, they play the same, nothing too different, just, the differences between the console, but they're the same game. So essentially, in the story of this one is pretty simple. It's some mysterious guy is taking over the villains and stuff like that. The gameplay is pretty simple. It's a 2-player game, so it's pretty grounded. And the first player always plays as Spider-Man for some reason. I kind of wish that you could switch between Spider-Man and some of the other characters on the team, but you don't. First player always plays as Spider-Man. Second player always plays like the villain or like some type of other secondary character. Now, I think one of the biggest differences between these two games is they always had like one character that was different. I think the PS2 version, because it's Sony, had a Green Goblin, meaning the Hobgoblin. And then in the Xbox version, I think they got Silver Sable, I'm pretty sure. So there was a little bit of a difference there between which character was in there, but besides that, pretty much it's the same game. but pretty fun game nonetheless. You get combo meters, stuff like that, which build up your points and stuff. So, good kids game. A good kids game. A good introduction to the character, I feel like, for this game, for children. But anyway, let's get on to my number 9. I know that took me like 5 minutes just to get through the very first number 10. Trust me, that's not going to happen anymore. All right, so number 9. So a lot of people do not like this movie. I am one of the few people who actually do like the movie. I fanboyed out when I saw the movie because I was a little kid at the time, so I wasn't a big, super crazy, like, that movie sucked. No, I actually enjoyed the movie. I didn't really see a lot of problems with it. Yes, there were a few nitpicky things, but I think overall I enjoyed the movie. And that one would be Spider-Man 3. I got two of them. I got the PlayStation 2 version and the Xbox version. Now, this is going to be a little different because the consoles have different gameplay. Now, the story is pretty much the same. There are a few things in the Xbox version that are a little bit better, but there are a lot of things in the PS2 version that I like. So, the gameplay in PlayStation 2 is kind of more grounded, whereas in the Xbox version, it's more like, get you up in the air like Spider-Man 2 style and like punch your lights out. Your dodging's also different. In the Xbox version, you have like this button you press for like a reflex, where it slows time down and you can like do like a counter. And then the PlayStation 2 version, you just get like a dodge button. And the web slinging is also significantly different too, whereas in the PS2 version, it's I don't want to say it's like, it is a little bit, but it's not super similar to Spider-Man 2, but it is a little bit more, it is a little bit more like that, whereas the Xbox version is too, because, it's grounded, you got to actually web onto a building, but it's different. It's a little bit different because the web slinging, I feel like I get pulled down more, whereas in the PS2 version, I can actually web sling, without feeling like I'm going to fall to the ground. So these are two different games. I recommend if you have one copy of this game to get the other one too. If you have like a PS2 one, but you don't have the Xbox 360 version, get both, because these both are great games to play. Even though people don't like the movie, I think that even if you don't like the movie, I think it's a blast to play. Alright, so moving on to my number 8 spot is Spider-Man the Movie game on the PS2 version. Now, a lot of people really liked this game because they liked the fact that like those people back in the day who played Spider-Man 2000 and then Spider-Man 2001, you know what I'm talking about, where the web slinging, it was a little bit more, this one was a little bit more revolutionary because this was one of the first games that it wasn't the first game to stick to the wall. But it was one of those games where you could, web sling in a free roam area in the city, and that was a big step up from previous Spider-Man games back in the day. So this game, I really like the combat in it too. It is your simple 1, 2, 3, but you also have other moves in there that you can combine and experiment with and figure out what's your favorite move. So that's another reason why I like this game. The web impacts are great. I use those all the time, where you just keep shooting webs at them. It's really helpful in fights. The web gloves were really nice. I'll talk more about the web gloves in the other game. And the story's the same, just like the movie, so nothing too different with the story. But the game, if you don't own this game, I recommend you get it. Really good game. Alright, so moving on to my number 7, which is, now this one I almost gave it to this Spider-Man, but I decided that this one was a little bit better. just by a few inches. And that was Ultimate Spider-Man from PlayStation 2. Now, this one is more about the Ultimate Comics. This is not focused on my mainstream. I'm not a big fan of the Ultimate Spider-Man, but I do like some of the things in Ultimate Spider-Man. Especially, spoiler alert, in the comics when Peter Parker dies. I felt like that was one of his best death scenes, and that's why I do respect that. But let's talk about the game now. The gameplay is 1, 2, 3, but it's more action, open world. This one actually came out, I think, after Spider-Man 2. So this one, you know, you can also play as Venom in this. Now, Venom's gameplay compared to Spider-Man's is super different. Venom can leap buildings. He's got his tendrils. You know, he doesn't get his symbol until the end of the game, which is kind of you know, because I remember when I was playing Ultimate Spider-Man, I was like, where's his symbol? Like, where's his black suit symbol? And then when he like he finally gets his hands on Parker and he eats him or whatever, then he gets his symbol. So I don't know, that I kind of was like, really, like, okay. But besides that, that was my only nitpick with the game. Really good game. The story is, it feels very fresh. It feels like something that, you know, you never seen before in a Spider-Man game. And I recommend this game. I also love the comic book scenes they have in the cutscenes, which makes this game even more fun to play. There's a lot of classy villains in here from the Ultimate Comics that are really fun to fight and that are really fun to see. Yeah, it was a really good game. I recommend you pick it up if you have never played it before. Anyway, let's move on to my number 6, which is Spider-Man 2, Enter Electro, 2001 game. Now, this is on the PS1, and I still have it. I play it, like, still to this day. One of my favorite games. It was one of my first games. This is one of my first Spider-Man games. Now, when I first seen Spider-Man, I saw the animated series, and then I saw the origin story in the Sam Raimi first movie. So that was my introduction to the character. But before that, it was this game also with the animated series. So, you know, this game, I mean, I don't want to talk too much. I mean, I guess I'll talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty basic. Your web slinging it doesn't stick to walls in this game like it does in other Spider-Man games. But, you know, it's still a classy game to play. You know, you can aim your web to know where to web sling, because there are sections of the game where you're going to have to, like, run away from someone or something, or, you know, you're going to have to, like, there's a lot of really good things in this game, and it's hard to talk about it all without doing a full review of it, because we are just trying to breeze through these as fast as possible. But I just like to talk about these games because there's so much I want to, you know, they're really good games. I love the mystery in this one, you know, about, like, about Spider-Man trying to figure out who, like, took this piece of equipment from these scientists who broke in. The story's just great. It feels like it's ripped straight out of a comic book. You know, the suit texture compared to the very first one is not as plain. You can see the lines. You can customize your Spidey so that he can be invulnerable, super strength, or he can enhanced web slinging or super jumps. Like, there's so much you can do in this game. You can even go to you can't go to the X Mansion, but you can, like, go to, like, these training simulations where you can see Professor X and Jean Grey, and they'll, like, you know, they'll talk you through these, like, combat situations or, like, this training. So it's that was one of the very big step-ups from the very first one. But number 5 spot goes to the very first Spider-Man game on the PS1. Now, this is a little bit better than the second one because I I love everything about this game. There's even like a what if mode. So if like you beat the game, or if you have a code, if you find the code online or the cheat code, then you can like put in this what if mode, and there's so many laughs. There's even one where Doc Ock's like a little midget, and then Spider-Man's like, I'll call you Little Doc or Little Ock. Like this takes the comedy and just ramps it up. Like this game was so funny to laugh at. It was so funny to play. It was so great to play. Like you can even get spider armor, like I didn't mention in this one, where you can just find it around the levels, and then you'll get like an armor boost so that you don't take too much damage. But if you take too much damage, it'll break, and then you're back to your classy red and blue. This one did not have the lines. You couldn't really see the lines in this one of his texture suit, but it just was a blast to play. Venom's in the game. Like, he's hilarious. I like that Spider-Man's married to MJ in this one. Like, I just really enjoyed this game, and it's one of my favorite games to play on the PS1. Unfortunately, I never played this game until last year when I bought it on Amazon. So it was kind of sucky that I missed out on it when I was a little kid, but I was lucky enough to play Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro on my PS1 when I first seen Spider-Man in my life. Alright, so moving on to my number 4 spot. Now, my number 4 and 3 spot was kind of hard because it was one of those things like, well, does it deserve it? You know, what game beats it? You know, what game was a little bit better? And that game was Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Now, it was kind of hard trying to see if this one was a little bit better than the next one on the list, because it was one of those things where I was kind of like, when the game was coming out, I was like, who are these guys? I was like, who's the blue guy? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Like, I was kind of sitting there like speculating who half of the characters were on this list. In this game, and it was just so cool, like some of the things in this game. I think one of my favorite parts in this game was when I'm the Nora Spider-Man, and then it becomes like a stealth game, and then you're like in the shadows, and you're like picking the enemies off one by one and putting them in webs. Like, it just feels so satisfying. And then you got the Ultimate Spider-Man, where he's in the black suit and he can just rage out and stuff. It just looks really cool, really good. Spider-Man 2099 is probably another one of my favorite sections in this game. 2099 Spider-Man and Nora are probably my favorite part about Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Like, Spider-Man 2099, he's in the future, you know, and then Nora, he's like that old school stealth guy in like the 90s. So it's like it's just really good. Those are my two favorite ones. And then of course you have the Amazing Spider-Man. He's okay. I felt like his character wasn't as developed as some of the other characters in this game, which is a little weird, because I thought I got more character from 2099 and Ultimate and Nora, but not from the main one, which is a little weird. But, you know, the gameplay's fun. You know, I love how the gameplay is significantly different to all of these characters. Like Nora, he's a little bit weaker. He's not as strong as the other Spider-Man because that's why he focuses in the dark. And 2099, he's just super fast, you know. He's like not as fast as the Flash, but it's like, whoa, this guy could almost look like he's as fast as him, because that's how fast he goes. The free-falling sections are one of my favorite parts about 2099, and I'll talk about that more in the future of, you know, this list. But anyway, let's move on, because we're taking too long, to my number 3 spot. And this was, I think a lot of people consider this their number 2, but I think you'll understand why it was my number 2 when I explain it a bit more in the next one. So my number 3 one is SpiderMan Web of Shadows. Now, not the PS2 version. This one is a 2D game, but it was still fun to play. If you bought and played this already, and you're bored and you want to play Web of Shadows again but differently, I would recommend this one. But I won't talk about this one too much. It's your classic 2D platformer. In this one, you can get friends, help, You can get little buff ups and stuff, which look cool. A lot of funny parts in this too. I think I laughed a little bit more in this one than I did in this one. If you're looking for a good laugh, I recommend this game. Plus, you fight a little bit more enemies in this one than you do in this one. But this was considered one of the best ones, one of the best Spider-Man games ever made. Now I think that is because they got the red, the red and the black suit thing, where you can switch the suits on the fly. His webs stick to buildings. The combat is pretty cool. It's really unique compared to the red suit Spider-Man and the black suit Spider-Man. And the choices. Another big thing in this game were choices. Like, you can make a red suit choice, you can make a black suit choice. Basically a good and evil choice. Kind of like Infamous games. And I thought that's one of my favorite things in this game. You can also get help from your allies. You can do like little special moves on enemies. Like, there was a lot of good things about this game. And I didn't hear a lot of people talk about this game, which is a shame, but this is considered one of the best Spider-Man games. But like I said, you're looking for a laugh, I recommend, the PS2 version. But if you want a full action Spider-Man 2 game with, crazy choices and symbiotes taking over the planet, then I recommend Xbox 360 SpiderMan Web of Shadows. Alright, my number 2 spot would be, now, I know a lot of people are going to say, why did you pick this one? Why didn't you just go Web of Shadows for this one? Well, that's because Spider-Man Edge of Time had me on the edge of my seat when I first saw the trailer. I was like, oh my gosh, Spider-Man's going to die? Now, when I was not super aware of, and I think this was even before Spider-Man dies in the comics in the Ultimate series, because this has never been done before, where it's like, okay, Spider-Man game, we're gonna kill him off. Like, I'm like, wait, no, what? So, and I also liked how Miguel had to go back in time and save him and all that. I also like how Venom in this game was anti-Venom. That was the first time I saw Venom as anti-Venom. I never seen Venom in the white costume before, and that was really new. I started looking that up, and I started learning about the character. So this game was also very surprising. It also did this really cool twist on Spider-Man's character, and the gameplay was pretty fun. It was just exhilarating, especially when the music started playing sometimes. The music in this game is amazing. And then when you're fighting, you can feel the energy from it. It really was great. I love the dynamic, talking between Spider-Man and 2099. It's really great. I think 2099 is one of my favorite Spider-Men. If I thought about it more, I think Noir would be like my third. But I really do like this game. One of my favorite games. I've been playing this one actually recently, and I forgot how amazing it was. No pun intended. Alright, so let's do this. Let's finish this. The number 1 spot, and we all know what it is. It is Spider-Man 2. Now, Spider-Man 2 is a movie licensed game, but it is considered by everyone, including me, one of the best Spider-Man games of all time. Now, it is. It just is. You can do everything. You can web sling around the city. You can get interested in a really cool, interesting story. Black Cat's in it, so that's a plus. You can do pizza deliveries. You can take photos for the Daily Bugle. You can, talk to citizens and see what's up and what's going on. Random things will pop off, and you got to go to the rescue. Like, it just felt like a Spider-Man game, and that's what was the best part about this game. Whereas a lot of people consider this one a Spider-Man simulation. It's a little bit of weird choice of words for you just to say, oh, it's the best Spider-Man game. But it was hard. It was hard for the rest of these, because it was like, you know, there's so many Spider-Man games, and it's like, I was sitting there, like, thinking to myself, I have so many games, which one of these was the best? So I had to actually go through and actually think about it. It took me a few hours, actually, to figure this out, along with other ones, but yeah, guys, that took longer than expected for a top 10 list, but I felt like I had to do this. It needed justice because, you know, I felt like, you know, you need a little bit more, you know, from a guy who's a Spider-Man fan to tell you, like, some recommendations and stuff like that. Yeah, that is my top 10 list for Spider-Man games. I hope you guys enjoyed. And let me know what your top 10 list was in the comments. And I'm out of here. Up, and away. See you guys.